Somalians in America, Somalians in the news. Seems like we can't go a day without talking about Somalians. Now, one of the things that is going on in Minnesota, of course, we've been covering this all week long, but ICE is now in, and federal authorities are now in the state of Minnesota, Minneapolis, and other places, I'm sure, looking for the Somalians that have been committing fraud, whether it is immigration fraud or there's all of that taxpayer dollars that have been hijacked by these Somalians in Minnesota. Huge, huge story that we've all been talking about. You're talking about over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, hundreds of billions of dollars that these Somalians in Minnesota have been pilfering fraudulently. And the thing is, everybody knew. This is the thing that I don't get. Well, I do get it because I understand Democrats and how corrupt they are. Everybody knew this was going on, including Tim Walz, including Keith Ellison, who is the Minnesota Attorney General. But because they were worried about some sort of Somalian voter retribution, everybody let it go. Everybody just allowed the residents of Minnesota and Americans to be ripped off by the Somalian community in Minnesota because they feared political retribution. So now Keith Ellison was on with CNN and Anderson Cooper, and he was asked, listen, and by the way, the graphics, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, Trump sets up attacks against U.S. Somali immigrants, calls the community garbage, says, I don't want them in our country. Now, we could tackle each and every one of those individually to give them the proper context, but I want to focus on this audio where Keith Ellison is being grilled by Anderson Cooper. Would you have done anything differently?
I want to ask you about the fraud scandal. I mean, because the president's comments seem at least in part fueled by, or he's talking about this fraud scandal that we mentioned earlier involving that charity called Feeding Our Future. The vast majority of these 70 defendants charged in the case were Somali. For perspective, those are nearly 80,000 Somalis in the state. How much, critics have said that state officials, including you and the governor, did not act fast enough or quickly enough to investigate charges of fraud against the Feeding Our Future and did little to flag their allegations to federal authorities. I know you said it was the federal government that didn't move fast enough. Is there something you wish you had done differently?
All right, now I want to just throw this in. I know people hate when I do this, but I've got to throw this in. Because Anderson Cooper is pulling his punches. Because remember what we talked about a couple of days ago, Joan, where Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, he targeted whistleblowers.
Yeah.
He bullied whistleblowers in Minnesota's health apparatus, whatever, the health department, Health and Human Services, I think it is, where they were saying there is fraud going on. And not only did Tim Walz ignore the whistleblowers, but he threatened and he bullied and he shut the whistleblowers down. So he knew it was going on. I mean, you're talking about literally members of the health apparatus in Minnesota actually calling out the governor. Do you know how huge that is?
It's crazy.
And so when I say Anderson Cooper, it's like he's pulling his punches, but whatever. He's got Keith Ellison, the Attorney General. Let's see what he says.
No, we first of all, the Department of Education denied claims when questionable claims were made about these meals. My office went to court, explained that to the court. A judge actually found the department in contempt for denying claims. And we cooperated fully and worked well with the FBI. We're glad that we took the action that we did.
Okay, so whatever you say, Keith, clearly what they're trying to do is they're trying to point fingers. You know, it's the art of distraction. But I'm going to go right back to what obviously a lot of other people have been saying about this. And one of my main points is that this is something that is very consistent in Democrat states with the corruption and the incompetence. And it's political in nature. because everybody knows that in Minnesota, if you lose the Somalian vote, then you lose the vote of Minneapolis and you lose whatever election that you're trying to win. So ultimately what they do is they are selling out the people of Minnesota for political reasons. Now let's go back into the Wayback Time Machine, the hot tub time machine. Let's go ahead and do that. Where Ilhan Omar, this was in 2016. I don't know if you remember this, Joan, but I do. Where she was actually calling for, this was when she was voted into the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
And they
she
found
was
a
in debt $45,000.
What?
And she was in debt $45,000.
Yes, okay. And she was in debt $45,000. And what is her total now? $300 million? Is that what you said?
No. It's between $6 and $30 million.
$6 and $30 million, whatever. $6 and $30 million. So there's a bunch of guys, Somalians, that were found to be trying to connect with ISIS. And she had actually, she's been in Congress at this time, only a few days. Yet she actually asked for leniency for these Somalians who were trying to connect with ICE.
Tonight was just 2 days ago, but it seems Minnesota Representative-elect Ilhan Omar may have already made her first move as an elected official. In a letter signed November 8th, Omar asks a U.S. district judge for compassion when sentencing 9 Minnesota Somali American men convicted of trying to join the terrorist group ISIS. She says the best deterrent to fanaticism is a system of compassion. We must alter our attitude and approach if we truly want to affect change. We should refocus our efforts on inclusion and rehabilitation.
I mean, good God.
Who was that reporting?
Fox 9. It's back in 2016.
Still, I mean...
But what a bunch of hooey.
It is a bunch of hooey, and all she's doing is regurgitating the words of Ilhan Omar as if they're true.
It's almost like she's trying to sell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's trying to sell it. Well, you know, this is in Minneapolis, and so they're trying to cater to the Somalian community. But really, is the best deterrent to fanaticism a system of compassion?
Right.
I don't think so.
Well, actually, if the compassion is locking them up, getting them off the streets so that, you know, normal people can live their lives, then yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, here's the deal. If somebody is found to have been trying to join an organization that is plotting to kill Americans and there's Somalians in this country or whatever, they can be Americans, they can be from Guatemala, Honduras, whatever. But the best deterrent to fanaticism is not compassion. It is throwing them in jail and throwing them in jail and locking the key, throwing away the key, locking them in jail and throwing away the key.
You know, I have a friend who came from the Minneapolis news groups, I guess, and I worked with him in Washington, D.C., and he tells me that in all of Minnesota, all of the news organizations are very, very protective of Democrats.
Oh, well, E.J. Host.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
E.J. Host and I have spoken about that many times, as a matter of fact, about how, because she was a talk show host in Minnesota.
Yes. It's very protective.
Well, that's consistent across the country, of course.
Yes. Well, it seemed especially so in Minnesota, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, why would they not call out? I mean, the role of the press, right, is to hold people's feet accountable.
Is it, Joan? Is it really the role of the press these days?
Should be.
Should be.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
But she's not the only one. 13 letters, including one from the dean of students at Minneapolis Public Schools, were also sent to the judge asking for leniency. Osman Sheikh Yusuf says, I truly am honored to call Abdi Rahman my friend, and I hope that good things happen to this wonderful young man who totally deserves a second chance in life.
I don't see how you can plot to kill Americans and want to kill Americans and want to join a terrorist organization and expect to get leniency. Only in the world of Democrats does that actually make sense.
But those letters and defense attorneys' request for a lighter sentence might not be enough to convince a judge. U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar has filed a response arguing against any lightened sentence. As to the defense claims, some of the men were immature and were therefore impulsive. He says there was nothing impulsive about the defendant's decision to continue to try and reach Syria, despite the FBI's numerous attempts to stop them.
Isn't that crazy? they were young and immature. You know what? They're over 18. And are we no longer going to be held accountable for our actions only because we're supposedly young and immature?
It's not vandalism. It's joining a terrorist organization.
I hate to do this, but I'll describe it for the folks on the radio. So do you know the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey?
I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Oh, my gosh. So...
The guy who likes to speak Somali.
But well, before you get into this, I don't know if Joan's seen this. Have you ever had? What would you say is the most unlikable dish you've ever tried? You'd be like, get this away from me.
What's the worst thing you've ever eaten, Joan?
I don't know.
Mine is Greek hamburgers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone made them wrong.
We're going somewhere. So
alligator. Okay, go.
So
alligator's good.
So the mayor, Jacob Frey. Jacob Frey. He and Donald Trump have been battling back and forth about the Somalians and all this. So Jacob Frey decides that he is going to go into a Somalian restaurant to show solidarity to the Somalian people, and he starts eating some Somalian dish. I don't know what this is. It looks like gruel. It looks gross. The look on Jacob Frey's face as he is eating this, you can tell he's like, you know what I mean? And so for folks listening on the radio, not watching on Super Talk TV, you can tell just by his face, his eyes look like they're almost starting to water. Yet he's putting up, this is great. He's putting up the okay sign. But you could tell that he is about ready to hurl.
Oh,
if you have not seen this.
The guy next to him looks like he can't wait for him to hurl.
And I don't even know do we know what dish that is that he's eating?
I'll check.
It looks like a combination of all kinds of weird looking beans and stuff. I don't know. But it is just funny. And I mean funny as all get out.
Do you remember when the church shooting happened in Minneapolis recently?
Yes.
The transgender person standing outside shot into the church while the children were having their classes. Yep. It was Jacob Frey, whatever his name is, that said, we don't want your prayers and your thoughts and prayers. We don't need your thoughts and prayers. That's the guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Not an admirable person whatsoever.
No. And again, it's all due to politics. Do you know, whether it's Keith Ellison, whether it's Tim Walz, whether it is Jacob Frey, they know that they're wrong. I believe that they know that they're wrong. I also believe that they don't care that they're wrong. Because, again, it is all about politics and remaining in power. And they're selling out the American people for the Somalians. And that's why Donald Trump, regardless of, and there's been a lot of things we've talked about over the past several days. You've got a lot of those Somalians that are on, the public dole. They're getting food stamps and all of those other things. There's a lot of fraud. They're living in the projects, yet they're driving amazing cars. They've got fancy furniture. In other words, they're living in projects, but they've got all this cash coming in from all of this fraud. And you see it not only, of course, in Minneapolis, but you're also seeing this in other parts of the country. Yesterday, we played you audio of that woman in Columbus, Ohio, that said basically the same thing is going on. We had some audio earlier this week of that handyman who saw the same thing, where he's going into these Section 8 housing and this public housing, and he's noticing that you got all of these Somalians that are living in this, taxpayer-funded housing, yet these people have all of these incredible cars, incredible electronics, etc. And he's like, it doesn't make any sense.
You're a mean one.
What is
Mr.
this?
Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus and as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black pea.
Hey, Joan.
Yes.
I'm beginning to regret this whole thing. So this is, if you've been following along the last couple of days, we are bucking the company and playing our own Christmas music as opposed to what the company has mandated, and putting our lives and careers, and I would say our listeners at risk. Who is that, Sam?
Small Town Titans.
So that is Small Town Titans. That is Sam's Christmas bumper music for the hour. I did mine in the 5. Joan did. All right, shut him up. Shut him up. Joan did hers in the 6. That is Sam's. In the 8 o'clock hour, we will review all of ours. Chris Hand will have his for the day, and something new. We are including a listener. And so we're going to get a listener on the phone, and that listener will present his or her official Christmas bumper for Nashville's Morning News. Hey, by the way, really quickly, I want to, have you heard what, just since we're sticking with like the Somalians for just a second, then I'm going to get to some other stuff. Did you hear the epic meltdown of Tim Walz? Because Donald Trump, of course, called him
retarded.
A retard, yeah. And Tim Walz, this is all over the place this morning.
This creates danger. And I'll tell you what, in my time on this, I'd never seen this before. People driving by my house and using the R word in front of people. This is shameful. And I have yet to see an elected official, a Republican elected official, say, you're right, that's shameful. He should not say it. So look, I'm worried. We know how these things go. They start with taunts, they turn to violence. So deeply concerned.
Like the kind of violence that ends with a shot in the ear.
Yeah, assassination attempt. This is the guy.
Or an actual dead National Guardsman.
Yeah, this is the guy, Tim Walz, who everybody knows, but he comes out and he says, I'm sorry you didn't hear the news that Donald Trump was assassinated yet, but you know what? Maybe next time.
Right.
Better yet, next time.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to go ahead along the lines of Tim Walz, I have yet to hear one Democrat, one progressive who said that Tim Walz was wrong for utilizing that kind of language about Donald Trump's assassination. 2 assassination attempts. Nobody condemned him.
Or Jay Jones and his fantastical text messages.
Exactly. It's the same thing. No, I'm going to admit, I don't. Okay, so here's what's going on with the term, because this is a national debate, it would appear. So I guess we should perhaps talk about it. I'm going to tell you, I don't like the term retarded. I don't like using it. I feel awkward even saying it. I don't like using it. But I think you know why that is, Joan? It's because I'm old. And no offense, but you're older than me. And I think people of a certain age, I'm almost 58, and people of a certain age, we tighten up a little bit when that word comes up, because we have been conditioned that is a very, politically correct, insensitive word. But the younger generation uses that term as something entirely different. I had this whole conversation with somebody yesterday about all of this, and about how the younger generation, they don't use that term as a term to describe someone who is mentally handicapped. They use that term for somebody who does not have a handicap, but is just saying stuff that is incredibly stupid, like Tim Walz. So that's the current use of the term. Now, I don't know, I still don't like using it, and I would never use it to describe another person, no matter how dumb I thought that they were being. There's other terms that I could use, but a lot of people that do use it, a lot of younger people actually that use it. Super text line blowing up right now. People saying, oh yeah, the younger generation does use it. That's right, Sam. I mean,
I felt laser beams through the glass, yeah.
What do you mean you felt laser beams?
When you looked
through
at
the
me,
glass?
you said younger people are using it, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about you. I don't know if you use that term. This is where, hey, Joan, this is where we can judge Sam.
Yeah.
Sam, do you use that term?
Yeah, it has its places in my vocabulary for sure.
Apparently, it has its place in modern vocabulary.
Yeah. And you know what? I agree with Donald Trump's assessment.
Well, listen, I mean, there is no denying that Tim Walz is a moron and an idiot. And I believe that he is intellectually challenged. I do. And he's corrupt as all get out. So, you know what I think? I think Donald Trump's assessment of Tim Walz, I think that is actually being kind. Because the number of expletives that I could use on Dancing Queen Tim Walz would get me thrown off the air, as a matter of fact. So, and just the lack of self-awareness where he is horrifically offended by somebody, calling him that word, or people driving by his house and, calling him retarded. I think, for me, if that offends his very delicate sensibilities, yet he doesn't understand the things that he has said that would actually promote and provoke real violence, and showing a wishing for the president of the United States to be assassinated, the fact that he doesn't understand that shows you that, yeah, he may be. So as you no doubt know by now, they have arrested the guy suspected in the January 6th pipe bombs in front of the DNC and the RNC. I want to play some audio here. This is Pam Bondi, and she was talking about there's so much that is sketch about this whole thing, because it sounds like the Democrats knew about this, and they have been sitting on this for, the better part of, 4 or 5 years? This is Pam Bondi. This was yesterday when she was talking about the evidence against one Brian J. Cole.
Jr. was arrested and charged with placing the pipe bombs at the RNC and the DNC on January 5th, 2021. He has been charged with violating 18 U.S.C. 844, which is use of an explosive device. This investigation is ongoing. As we speak, search warrants are being executed, and there could be more charges to come. I'm going to let our U.S. attorney discuss that shortly.
All right, so that is Pam Bondi. And this guy, it's amazing to me. And you ask me, okay, so why is it that it sounds like they knew who this guy was and, what he did? Well, listen to all of this, because I do find it interesting. You've got evidence here that is not exactly what you would say. What's the right way to put this? This is not new kinds of evidence, right? Law enforcement officials reviewed credit card purchases of pipe bomb components. Credit card purchases of pipe bomb components. That's number one. Number two, cell phone tower data and a license plate reader to zero in on Cole, this guy suspected, Brian J. Cole. According to an FBI affidavit filed in the case, the FBI and Justice Department declined to elaborate on what led them to the suspect, but characterized his arrest as the result of a reinvigorated investigation during the Trump administration and credited a fresh analysis of already collected evidence and data. So this is all just like everyday kinds of evidence. I mean, you're talking about license plate readers, cell phone tower data. You're talking about credit card purchases of pipe bomb components. This is not new. I mean, this is the kind of evidence that they see every day. And apparently they have had this evidence for a long time. And as Pam Bondi said, this evidence has been sitting around collecting dust, and they did nothing. Meantime, let's look at everything that has happened during the Biden administration. While this guy was walking around free, this Brian J. Cole, you had the J6ers rot in that rat-infested jail. Horrible, deplorable conditions. And what was the FBI focused on? That'd be another question. As this guy was running around free And all of that evidence, as Pam Bondi said, as all of that evidence was sitting on a shelf collecting dust, the FBI, they were investigating conservative organizations like Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, the RNC, Project Veritas, parents at school boards, and pro-life organizations and Catholic groups as well. And so I think it is obviously clear that Dan Bongino, and I've got some great audio coming up, but Bongino comes in and he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he did it with the support of Donald Trump. This is from the New York Post, who spoke to this guy's neighbors in Woodbridge. They say that he could be Antifa-linked. He could be an anarchist. They say that he never made eye contact, almost like he just didn't see you. And they say that this was not, and I repeat, not an inside job, which was, there are a lot of people out there on the conservative side that were saying that this suspect was, number one, a female, and number two, part of the FBI or law enforcement somewhere. But it turns out that it is obviously, again, Brian J. Cole, a man, a black man, despite what Jake Tapper said, who called him a white guy. We've got that great audio coming up. But this is something that he should have been arrested a long, long time ago.